Alright, if you haven't seen the trailer for the upcoming Minecraft movie, you need to go watch it right now. I've been playing Minecraft since the alpha days, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that these might be the wildest 78 seconds of Minecraft content I have ever consumed. There is so much to talk about here. So let's dive right in and see what we can learn from the trailer for a Minecraft movie. As the trailer begins, we're thrust into the perspective of 4 characters from Earth who somehow end up in Minecraft. Their names are Henry, Natalie, Dawn, and Garrett Garrison, also known as the Garbage Man. In the earliest shots of the trailer, we see their bewildered reactions as they look at the world around them. Our response is not so different from theirs. For the first time, we get to see what Minecraft actually looks like, not just the graphical representation from the game. And what we find is, oh boy. Yeah, this is quite something. Everything is hyper-detailed, wool on the sheep, blades of grass, flowers. It's hard to overstate just how different things look than the game. In fact, the world isn't even made of blocks. We see many examples of shapes that wouldn't normally be possible and configurations that feel uncomfortable, such as these barrels with an offset stack. In many ways, it's an overwhelming experience. There's just so much. But this initial shock is nothing compared to what's to come, because for the very first time, we get to observe what happens during crafting, perhaps the single most important component of the game. The crafting table does exist. We see Henry using it briefly. He places 2 iron ingots and 2 sticks on the grid, and then reaches for a 3rd ingot. But the configuration of the items is confusing. If we scroll through every possible recipe that uses both iron ingots and sticks, we'll find that none of them match the layout that Henry is placing. Maybe he's just experimenting, trying to find new recipes. However, we could ask a somewhat disconcerting question instead. Does the shape of the recipe matter at all? I don't think I was mentally prepared for the answer to that question. In the very next shot, we see what physically happens during crafting. The Garbage Man is standing in front of a crafting table with several materials on it. Zooming in, what we discover is rather shocking. Items are scattered haphazardly on the surface. The center square has 2 items in it. There are items on the borderlines of the grid. There are ingots off the grid entirely. And to top it off, there are no fewer than 13 distinct crafting components to this recipe. This is totally bonkers. This recipe appears to work nothing like the ones in-game. Oh, but we're not done. If we keep watching, we'll see how the crafting itself occurs. There's no meticulous construction, no nimble connecting of raw materials. Instead, we watch the Garbage Man take a hammer and swing it full force onto the table. This causes the ingredients to immediately combine and instantaneously generate a weird sort of double bucket thing. Wait, what? Let's just back up for one moment here. This sequence seems to imply that the crafting we see in-game is completely incorrect. Apparently, recipe shapes are totally irrelevant. It seems that the only thing that matters is having all of the ingredients somewhere on the table. A quick hammer strike and boom, you're done. This sequence shakes to its core our understanding of perhaps the single most important part of Minecraft. The real process of crafting is so divorced from the way it's portrayed in-game. The worst part is the mixed messaging. Why does Henry even bother with the grid at all? While we're here, what is that weird contraption to the left side? It is clearly something he brought from Earth. It appears to be a 9-volt battery with an eraser and a tater tot with plastic legs? Unfortunately, even by adjusting the colors, we cannot see how the battery's terminals are connected. I honestly have no idea what this could possibly be. If you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. Oh, and if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Speaking of weird things brought from Earth, why does the Garbage Man carry a screw gauge on his belt? What types of high-precision measurements is he doing so commonly that he needs to have one with him at all times? Okay, let's keep looking around. This shot has several more noteworthy elements to it in the scene. On the wall hangs a pair of swords, diamond and iron, as well as a trident to the side. In the back, we see shelves with a multitude of items, including a row of TNT and shimmering diamond helmets. There are also a few burlap sacks on the ground. Given that this place is a workshop, these sacks likely contain tools. That would mean that these are tool bags. Everything in this house seems to suggest that the owner has spent a lot of time in Minecraft and that they know what they're doing. If we look to the right side of the frame, there's a character with a scruffy beard and a blue shirt, someone we have not seen before. So who is this guy? Well,
I am Steve.
Okay.
This guy is such a tool bag.
Yep, that's Steve all right. And while Natalie's initial instinct is to insult him, it appears that line actually serves as a bit of foreshadowing. At their core, tool bags store, well, tools, objects that have the capability to help accomplish certain tasks. In a conceptual sense, Steve's deep knowledge of the Minecraft universe means that he has a lot of tools at his disposal. He's storing the tools of knowledge within his mind. This means that Steve is a tool bag, metaphorically of course. Steve is clearly the one teaching the garbage man how to craft, showing him how to use this tool. In this way, Steve being a tool bag is actually a good thing, and it suggests that Steve will serve a critical role in the story of this movie. But even that's kind of an interesting thing, right? Because to this point, Steve has never really existed as a character. He's always been a placeholder for the person playing the game, a concept I've talked about at length in a different video. And yet, this trailer shows Steve not as a puppet, but as a living, breathing person. While the implications are not completely obvious, at minimum, it calls into question the nature of the game itself. Is Steve being controlled by someone else? Or is he a human that has been sucked into the game somehow? We know that this is apparently possible because the opening shots seem to show just that, the group of 4 taking a portal to the overworld. But if we look more closely, we'll see something fascinating. Henry is holding a glowing block. This block has the same color and particle effects as the Earth portal. The blue particles are attracted to both of them. The implication is that this is somehow responsible for these characters teleporting to Minecraft. So what is this block exactly? We get a few clear shots of it throughout the trailer. Visually, it has a glowing blue center surrounded by glass. Looking really closely, we can even make out the glass streaks on the side. In my view, this is obviously a beacon. It's virtually identical, same colors, same glow, same glass enclosure. Henry is holding it in the earliest shots of the trailer, right after the group exited the portal. Therefore, Henry probably brought this block with him through the portal. In other words, he somehow found it on Earth. This is even more interesting when we consider the composition of a beacon. It uses obsidian and glass, both of which are materials that exist on Earth. But it also uses a nether star in the center, and the only way to acquire a nether star is to kill a wither. And this leads us to a really interesting question. Did a wither somehow end up on Earth? We do know from Minecraft that interdimensional teleportation requires a large amount of energy. Typically, it's found in the form of heat, the spark lighting the nether portal, the blaze powder and lava by the end portal. Since the Wither is such a high-energy being, maybe it had so much energy that it was able to teleport across dimensions, ending up on Earth. This is one way that a nether star might get here. As the trailer continues, we learn that the players end up exploring a village, and it definitely is a village. The houses have the same design language as those from the game. Furthermore, we can actually see villagers walking around. Their large heads, robes, and clumsy motions are visible even from a distance. However, there are a few things here that we haven't seen before. Maybe the most notable is the huge pair of windmills. This represents a new use of an energy source. Furthermore, some of the buildings are much larger in size, such as a distant bell tower. There's also a fortress built into the side of the arch. We get a more detailed view of it later on. Perhaps this suggests a different approach to village defense. Iron golems are notably absent. As it turns out, village defense will prove to be a very important part of the plot of this movie. Later in the trailer, it's revealed that the players end up in the Nether. We can tell that Henry just warped. The back of his head has the purple glow of the portal, and we can make out a few portal particles flying around. He appears to have teleported right into a bastion remnant. We can see the decaying blackstone structure. In front of him are a multitude of piglins. They barely seem to notice him, as most are engaged in other activities, including mining, moving building materials, carrying gold blocks, and fighting amongst themselves. Lots of fighting. One apparently falls to its death after being whacked by a pickaxe. It seems as though their safety rules could use a few updates. If we continue to analyze this shot, we'll see a weird hunched figure with purple eyes and a hooked staff. This is quite similar to the Seer, a character from the spin-off game Minecraft Legends. Could this be the antagonist of the movie? At this point, we don't know. What is clear is that these piglins will invade the overworld. Despite their bumbling appearance, the piglin society proves quite capable of organizing and executing a massive mobilization. Their weaponry includes swords, crossbows, axes, and even spears, something not seen in the game. They creatively use ghasts as aerial transport, hanging platforms from them. But they're apparently not creative enough to have guardrails on all 4 sides. And even when they do, they're ignored. This piglin is a child, and it's standing on top of the fence. What are we doing here? Also, does it really make sense for the platforms to be made out of wood, considering that ghasts, shoot fireballs? Apparently, their culture does not place a high importance on safety. What their culture does have, though, is music. One bangs on the drum to rally the troops while another plays a bugle. How about that? Sorta makes me rethink the purpose of Pigstep. Like the base game, the piglins do appear to have a leadership structure. There's a shot from the village that shows a bigger and tougher piglin with a helmet. I do have to wonder about the skull on its belt. The elongated forehead and compressed features seem awfully close to a baby villager. Along those lines, the piglins are clearly intended to look barbaric. The description of this movie on the official website suggests that these piglins will, in fact, be the antagonists of the movie, calling them, quote, evil. This does conflict with my initial interpretation of them, where I saw their difficult existence as a tragic product of factors beyond their control. We will have to see how this plays out in the film, and I'll reserve additional theorizing about them until then. By now we've covered most of this trailer. Nonetheless, there are a few random things I wanted to mention that I couldn't fit in naturally. First, the creeper. Its appearance does seem to be grassy or leafy, confirming an early suggestion by Notch. The movie poster gives us a better look, and we see that, instead of dead, dry leaves, the creeper is made of bright green grass. It's not clear how such a well-watered being would have such a strong tendency to explode. Although maybe the creeper doesn't explode in this world, who knows? And why is the music choice Magical Mystery Tour by the Beatles? It's a song that could easily be referencing a different type of trip than a portal to Minecraft, perhaps one with which the producers of this movie were well acquainted. That would be one way to explain the trailer. There are a few other moments that are confusing, but in a different way. What's the deal with these visual artifacts on the crafting table? Or what about the visible green screen on Natalie's hair? Or the lack of piglin reflections in the llama's eyes? Except somehow for the very last piglin. Why is the font on this sign different from the font in-game? Where's the ascender on the K? But for all the oddities and uncanniness, the more I watch, the more genuinely excited I become for this movie. For better or for worse, I love how they just went for it. A live-action Minecraft movie. Why not? Obviously, this deep dive is a bit tongue-in-cheek, and I hope you enjoyed trying to interpret the trailer through a more serious lens as much as I did. It's amazing how much detail they packed into such a short video, and there are certainly parts of this trailer that look really good. The Nether and the piglins are my personal highlight. Hey, who knows, maybe Jeb will come out and say that this movie is canon. Boy, I sure hope so. Until then, I want to thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. If you want more content like this, let me know by subscribing. And if you wish to support me further, join as a channel member. This has been RGN. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great day.